One of the key things that I talk a lot about with teams and leaders is what makes an effective team. There are a number of models, a lot of great authors and insight that we can leverage and consider. But I want to talk specifically about team effectiveness through the lens of servant leadership. Dr. Justin Irving and Dr. Gail Longbotham with Regent University published a study early in 2000, I want to say, and they identified these six key themes. So it had been 2006. They identified these six key themes that, when adhered to, led to higher levels of effectiveness within teams. Now, I've conducted a number of studies, informal and currently formal, to validate this and to look at that. But I wanted to spend some time talking about what are those six themes, because I think as leaders, it's important for us to have an awareness of what's out there. What are different mindsets? What are different perspectives? How could it potentially impact my team? So as you think about the six themes that I'm going to go over, and I'm going to do a short video on each one, I don't want you to look at it as a comprehensive, I have to do all six in order to realize effectiveness. Reality is, my recommendation is always to pick what works. Find something that works for you. Maybe you pick one or two themes and you say, this is what my team needs right now. Again, there's a lot of great models out there. I would encourage you as a leader to continue searching and seeking, finding what makes the most sense for you. But for right now, let's kind of dive in to these six themes. So the six themes, I'll read them out and then we'll talk specifically about the first one today. So the six themes are providing accountability, supporting and resourcing, engaging in honest self-evaluation, fostering collaboration, communicating with clarity, and valuing and appreciating. So today I want to talk a little bit about accountability. And what does that mean? In the field of servant leadership, it's very often kind of noted that servant leadership is a soft way of doing things and it's directionless and there's really no guidance. And I think if we go back to what Robert Greenleaf had taught us and Don Frick and many of these other authors, they would suggest otherwise. You look at companies like TD Industries, Southwest Airlines, AT&T, they are not successful because they have no accountability. It's the exact opposite. And as a leader, especially adhering to and following the ideas of servant leadership, accountability is essential. One, it requires foresight. It requires the ability for you as a leader to look into the future and say, here are the trends that I'm aware of using examples. Don Frick, he gives a great example, and it's one that I am still working on. But imagine, if you will, on a board, let's say right here on this board, there was a line across. And at the very end, there's the present. And the other side of it is kind of the infinite in the future, right? It's each day moving forward. If you were to put a line on this kind of long line, right, and that would be considered today. If you were to turn off all your lights and put a flashlight on it, what does it do? Well, if you can imagine, a flashlight is going to have a bright cone of light that's going to spread out, right? The brightest is going to be on the here and the now, but there's also going to be light in the past and also in the future. And so as we talk about foresight and what that means, it's the ability for us to say, all right, what are the lessons that I've learned in the past, and how do I believe they will show themselves in the future? Are you always going to be right? Not at all. No one's ever right. But it's that ability for us to set a goal and a vision and say, this is where I believe we're going, and these are the outcomes I believe we will accomplish. Now that if we have that buy-in on a team, we want to be able to hold them accountable. And so the specific definition that Irving and Longbotham give is, in general, people within this organization are held accountable for reaching work goals. Now, accountability can go a number of ways, and I'll do a video series on that later because there's some key components we need to think about in regards to how do we create an environment that's supportive of accountability. But as a servant leader, accountability is setting a goal, talking with clarity, making sure that your team understands and they know, and then ensuring that you're holding them to that. And that's done through repeated check-ins. That's done through what are the steps? What are the standards that we have? So create the framework. As Ken Blanchard and Randy Connolly would say, servant leaders, good servant leaders, can create autonomy through boundaries. And I believe what they mean by that is by giving a structure and giving a framework for how we want our employees to function, will then empower and give them the autonomy to say, all right, these are my barriers, these are my surroundings. Now I need to get from A to B. And while I've been given the expectation and the accountability is that I stay within this, there's still room for autonomy to figure out, how do I want to get to that end point? So I encourage you to think, are your team members, are your people held accountable? Are they held accountable through clear expectations and guidance? And are they held accountable through your support to ensure that work goals are being met? I want to thank you for taking these few minutes to consider this idea of providing accountability. Keep an eye out for additional videos where I go through the other 5. And if you have any comments or questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to talk more with you. Until next time, take care.